We are back with the legend Kevin Wheeler. I am thrilled to have him and welcome him here. I had the opportunity, the honor to sit and watch your keynote this morning, so we have some fantastic questions. But for folks out there who may not know you, please tell us who you are and what you do best.
Okay, I'm a former recruiter, but right now I run a group called the Future Talent Institute, and we do research into future trends in work, employment, learning and development, the talent space in general. I really spend most of my time doing research, writing. I do a weekly column, written a couple of books, and I just try to educate and inform the recruiting community about what's happening out there in the world.
So as someone who's been in this industry for a long time, you've seen the technology trends really from paper to digital to automation to artificial intelligence. Is there one theme that still reigns true as we go through these cycles of technology, whether it be adaptation, resistance, reliance, over-reliance?
Yeah. I think you've hit the nail on the head.
I didn't mean to answer that one, but
resistance is a big chunk of it.
I left that one out on purpose, folks.
Recruiters are very, I'd say, risk adverse, partly because of their work under HR. And the HR department is usually, there's a lawyer somewhere lurking around. Mm-hmm. So there's a tremendous amount of concern over legal issues and ethics and so forth, which is good to a degree, but it also inhibits experimentation and adoption of new technology. So they're very slow. It's really a monkey see, monkey do business. So when the big guys start doing it, then the little guys think it's okay to do it, and then it becomes normal. If you look at ATS adoption, there are still companies today that don't have an ATS.
They're just manually
receiving
candidates,
spreadsheets or whatever, right? That's crazy. There's probably companies today that don't really have a career site. And these are just hard to believe, given the fact that these things have been around for 30 years. But that's the nature of the business.
Resistance. You mentioned something interesting. TA falling underneath HR. I think certainly still some companies have that from a hierarchy, organizational standpoint, but the ones that separate HR from TA, and the ones that I've seen successful are the ones that put TA under marketing, or they put it under operations, not under finance. Don't ever put it under finance. That's a big no, but moving it out from that HR bucket. What are some of these successes that you've seen when companies start to move away from that TA is not a cost center, but it's actually a profit center because it's your people?
Yeah. It's a mind shift, and when you really look at recruiting and you say, what is the essence of recruiting? The essence of recruiting is marketing and selling opportunity. And if you aren't good at doing that, if you're just a paper pusher, it's going to be a struggle, right? And historically, back in the industrial era, you could be a paper pusher. That's what it was. It was personnel, admin, whatever. It was pretty easy and straightforward to just say, here's some openings, and people come and knock on your door, and you screen them in or out.
Round peg, round hole.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
And that may be still true for certain industries, but generally that's no longer true. And you have to differentiate yourself from the pack. You have to somehow make people aware that you exist and what kind of people you hire. And that requires some sort of marketing effort or whatever. I think any recruiting function that isn't focused heavily on marketing is already losing traction. And whenever I work with firms as a consultant, my first thing is to look at what's your career site like? What are you doing for your marketing positioning, right? And in most cases, it's pretty bad.
Especially when it comes to employer branding or candidate experience out there. And so many companies, it's an afterthought, but the ones that realize that if you put your money where your mouth is, you invest into the experience, you invest into the process, but you also invest into what that brand is. How do you work with brands? I talked about this before, the guest today. I don't want to hear anymore that we love working here because we're a family. Families aren't going to fire you. You're stuck with your family, right? Companies are not your families. So how do you bring out, when you're in your consulting practice, what that unique value prop of a company is, why folks want to work there?
The first thing is I don't care about the value prop for the company. That's almost immaterial. What I'm really focused on is the value prop for the job and the hiring manager, right? What are you going to be doing that's exciting and interesting, and who are you going to be doing it with? To me, the branding has to be much more low level, much more focused on what are you actually going to be doing in this company? We're going to build the next bomb that changes the world. I don't care if I'm working for the US government, Oppenheimer, or whoever it is. I'm excited to be doing what I'm doing, right? So that's the crux to it, and that's what they don't get. But saying, this is the greatest company in the world. Who gives a damn? It could be the greatest company and the worst boss, right?
Right, and if we're going to update that one, it's going to be, I want to work for SpaceX because I saw them landing that rocket ship vertical like that,
Right.
and that technology is absolutely fascinating. It may not be as like, it's the innovation and what draws them there. So speaking about innovation, I loved your keynote this morning talking about AI, specifically when it comes to recruiters. And we're going to share this slide. I took a picture of it when we have it. The slide's going to go right here. And it's Kevin's slide with the 8 stages what recruiters could evolve to. If you could just summarize that for folks who were not with us during that presentation, which is almost everyone tuning in right now.
Yeah. I've done a lot of thinking about what's the role of a recruiter as AI begins to replace their traditional functions.
It's happening.
And it's going to happen. And there's no doubt there'll be fewer recruiters than we have today. But they're going to be a much higher level, different kind of person in the recruiting role. So I outlined different steps or stages that recruiters can go through to get to that stage.
So we start with, and just for everyone playing at home, we have the recruiter driven. Then we have the haphazard, where recruiters are still critical to the process because the technology is here, but keep me straight here, Kevin, the company may not have adopted, implemented, or even started using
Exactly.
The next phase after that, recruiters are advisors and orchestrators. What does that mean? Let's stay within what's happening in the next, we'll call it 2 to 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, I think that's all that chart is good for, is 2 to 5, 6 years. Okay?
Well, we're going to have to refresh it pretty soon.
Yeah, it will have to be refreshed soon. But that's a step as an advisor. Right now, I think that hiring managers, in my experience, many of them are asking for advice about who should I be hiring? Should I be looking for this kind of a role? Or on the other hand, the recruiter should be saying to the hiring manager, maybe you should be looking for something different. Maybe this is a project job, or maybe this is not a full-time permanent kind of position, right? We need to have recruiters that can begin to have those conversations, build those kind of relationships with hiring managers. And let's face it, in most companies, the relationship a recruiter has with a hiring manager is virtually none.
It's order takers.
It's just order takers. They don't even know each other. So my biggest complaint that I get when I do consulting from hiring managers is I have no idea who my recruiter is.
That's a lack of communication within the organization, and I think it's a lack of prioritization by the C-suite coming down.
It's a lot of things. It's habit, it's tradition, it's
That's
HR
what it's been
does
for
it.
years.
You know, I'm a hiring manager. Everywhere I've worked, it's been X like this, right, or whatever. So they don't know any other model. Nobody's ever told them there could be a different approach, right? So it's like we do so many things in life just out of habit. You're a hiring manager, you worked for this company, they did it this way, you'd expect it's going to be done the same way in this company, right? So it takes a recruiter who's got the time and the ability to communicate well, build that relationship, which is what headhunters do. It's what you probably do in your business, where it's all about building relationships, building trust, where people listen to your advice because they trust you and they've had a history with you, right? So if you don't have that relationship as a recruiter, you're already lost half the battle.
So is it safe to say, based on your prediction, we have the crystal ball in front of us right now, insert crystal ball right here, that there's always going to be a need for a good human recruiter at some point in the process, no matter how good the tech gets?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that to some of my points I made today, the 80% of all the jobs out there can be filled completely, I think, effortlessly with technology. Right?
It's just a fact.
That's the 80-20 rule that applies to everything in life, pretty much, right? 20% of them are going to need human touch. They're not going to be found by the internet because they don't have a presence.
Called passive candidates.
In that case, you're going to need the ability of people with the ability to do that sales job, to do what recruiters used to do when I first started in my career, which is talk to people, take them out for lunch.
Relationships.
Yeah, pardon me?
It's relationships.
Yeah, it's all about relationships.
But what about also, let's talk about the ability to have conversations if folks are neurodiverse or they have a disability.
Yes.
Because the machines, that's where the bias is going to come in.
It will. And that's where we have to do a couple of things. We have to sophisticate the AI, and it will get there. Like I've always say, I think AI can always be tailored, and the algorithms can be written for any purpose. Human beings are very hard to reprogram. So if you're a recruiter and you don't like certain kinds of people, you will probably never be very likely to hire those kinds of people, okay? So
I like that.
You can fix AI. You can't fix people, all right?
You could tweak people, I think you said. You could tweak the algorithm, but you can tweak the people.
Exactly.
You can't what scares you with this? It's so fast. We're at the point now of technology evolving at such a rapid rate. What keeps you up at night when it comes to the AI and the talent process?
I think what keeps me up at night is more how people and recruiters react to it than to the AI itself. I have a lot of faith in the AI's ability to evolve, develop, mature, become far more sophisticated than it is today very quickly. I don't think recruiters or even many of us are able to keep up with that evolution. So what frightens me, it doesn't really frighten me, but what concerns me is the fact that recruiters are falling further and further behind and not able to keep up with the pace of the change that's coming. And that means at some point there's going to be this big earthquake, this big disruption, right? Where recruiters just aren't able to do anything really much, and AI can do a lot of it, and that's going to really be the dividing line. So if I'm a COO of a company or running a company, and I see solutions happening through the AI, and I'm saying, these people, I can't even get them on the phone, you're not going to hire many more recruiters, right?
No.
So I'm more concerned about the profession than I am about AI.
I completely agree with you. So my advice, Kevin, to recruiters out there, and let's just talk, for example, about an internal recruiter, where sometimes your hands might be tied. You need to be upskilling on your own. You need to be listening to ERE online. You need to be reading. You need to be in the trenches. You need to be the one in your organization who is a champion for the technology, who is immersing yourself on it, and who's bringing those solutions to the company to make yourself more valuable. How could I be more valuable than just a recruiter within an organization? And external recruiters out there, listen, I think there's always going to be a place for highly niche, specific tech roles, certain manufacturing. There's certain needs in executive search as well there too. But that whole 80% in the middle, they're not going to need us anymore.
Not going to need it.
But at the end of the day, there will be a few. It's the evolution. I love how you frame that. It's the evolution of the role, and it's either you're going to evolve or you're going to go the way of the dinosaur. And what I want to give you kudos to is staying ahead of the curve, being a champion to someone who's been in this industry for a long time, and really just telling it how it is. Because what's the point in sugarcoating anything?
Yeah, but this is the reality. And it's hard to be a realist sometimes, right? People always like to be sugar-coated and to always say it's always going to be rosy. And I think the life of a recruiter can be quite rewarding, but they're going to have to get a new set of skills to make that happen.
So you have your finger on the pulse. You're at almost every conference globally. What are some of these things you're hearing and seeing around the world in the industry that are exciting you?
I think some of the innovations in recruiting, like Scotty AI, which I briefly mentioned today, which is from the Netherlands. It's a completely automated recruiting tool that does everything from finding you to offering you the job.
Soup to nuts.
Soup to nuts, and it's adaptable. It was just in Australia, and within 2 minutes, it was calling people mate and using the Australian greeting of good day.
So it picked up the cultural nuances.
And the language with no training.
Next level here. But it still takes a human to control it, but only a couple humans versus a mass scale of a recruiting practice.
Yeah. Somebody had to write the original algorithms.
Of course,
but then it starts to learn on its own. This is where people don't quite get the potentially scary side of AI, in that at some point, it doesn't need us anymore. It's
then we get into
learning
Terminator
by itself.
mode.
It's learning by itself. Even you talk to Sam Altman at OpenAI, and he'll tell you that we don't even know what the hell's going on. We have no idea. We have no idea how it's doing what it's doing because it's figuring out on its own. We can get into huge discussions around what's consciousness
ethical
and
AI, of course,
and what's all this stuff. But the bottom line is, really sophisticated AI models are learning on their own.
So how do we monitor and control bias with the AI?
You monitor the outcome, and then you go back and you modify the outcome, or you tell it, look, this isn't acceptable anymore. You can't do this anymore, and it will change. I can tell you that, but the chances are you won't really change, or you'll try for a week and then it'll go back to the old way again. The AI will change.
Let's kick it back old school here for a moment here. What do you miss most about being a in the trenches recruiter? What do you miss about
the schmoozing?
That's why we do these podcasts and have the conversation.
Yeah. That's what you miss. I love
schmoozing.
Going out, meeting people, having lunch, talking about, learning about their family, their life, and helping them decide if this opportunity is the right one for them.
A great recruiter all great recruiters have one trait in common, and we are inquisitive.
Yes.
We want to know things. We want to know who you are. We want to know in a specific job how you figured it out. And that is one question when I ask almost, I'd say probably out of my 500 episodes, it's probably about 150 to 200 C-level executives. When they interview, they want to know how did you figure it out and what was your contribution to that project.
Exactly.
They want to,
Right.
they want to know your mindset here. So what's next for you?
I'm pretty far up in age. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing as long as I can do it. Just keep learning and exploring and communicating.
Is there a full-on retirement in the horizon, or you're just working until the end?
I just work till, hopefully I'll drop dead at one of these conferences.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. That is not what we want here. Not on my watch. Not on my Apple Watch. That is not happening out here.
All right, in the car park, a parking lot. All right?
Leave us with some words of wisdom here. I'm going to go to a classic podcast question here. Kevin, what is the greatest piece of advice that you've ever received that you take action on every single day?
Really making me think here. I guess it's don't be afraid of your own direction or forward, the way you think you should go forward, okay? Just do it. Don't be afraid and hold back. Be brave.
Be brave, be brave. Kevin, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast. We have a legend. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Juicebox AI, for bringing us here. Thank you to the fine folks over at ERE. Michael, Glenn, and the team, thank you so much for welcoming us here. Where could folks find you? Where could they connect? Where could they learn more?
Okay.
And get his books. We're going to link those up.
Yes, we can. You can subscribe to my newsletter, which is FOT News.
We will link up. We'll have all his links out there.
Thank you, please, because I can't remember.
We will have his LinkedIn profile.
And you can also reach me by email at kwheeler@futureoftalent.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
It was great. Yeah, it was fun.